Welcome to the Old School Basketball Show, at least the temporary name. Name's Jacob Chris from the Pundits, Care Sideline Sports. What we have here is Detroit Dom DeRubis. You see him on the gauntlet. You see him sip off, which he sips a lot. You see him on the carousel, NBA carousel every Monday night. You say hello to Dom.
Hello.
So tell me something. How long you are Detroit? So it means you are a Pistons fan. Is that correct?
Correct. I'm repping the Raptors tonight, though.
So are you a big? So would you say you're a big jersey collector?
That's a gross underestimation, sir. Oh. I think my exploits are well known. Maybe on some show we'll go in. Maybe we can have a segment called Dom's Jersey Closet. That'd be fun. We might run over on time.
No question. And the gauntlet, known as the gauntlet and the carousel also, Jay Nelson.
Hey, yo. Sorry I had to put my headphones on.
Hey, so you are Houston, which means you would be for the Rockets, which was great during the years of Elijah one, not so good with the Harden.
Right, absolutely. But hey, I'm Red Nation to the death. So, I still got to rock with my team, even though they're rebuilding right now. But absolutely. And I can't wait to actually on this show cover the 90, the 90s 4 and 95 90. Rockets.
Yeah.
And even the 80s Rockets too, because they did make an NBA Finals.
I know. I'm an old Celtics fan from the day, so I get it.
Yeah. You got me.
And I'm a Larry Bird guy myself. Will Vogel, you see him on the sip off. You see him on the carousel. You see him right now. He is now Charlotte. Say hello, Will.
Yes. Hey guys, what's up?
So, how long you been a Charlotte fan?
For a while. Unfortunately, I was a Bobcats fan, but luckily the Hornets are back, so I'm happy.
So one of the things that we are working right now is that we have a first segment to the whole crowd right now. We had one of our sideline family say that we had too plain of a title, Old School Basketball Show. We all saw that. So he came up with the idea we should call ourselves Basket Bros. And
I like it.
I like it.
I like it too.
I like it, and you know something? At least it's better than being 10 shows in, 10 shows in and coming with the thing. It's like, why not? What do you say? We have all four have a gavel. Basket Bros it is. And fire.
Adjourn.
We are now the Basket Bros, which we will switch this off starting next week. On the Basket Bros, one of the things that we have started on is the what if. The what if of the thing. Let's look at the idea of a time machine. This is one of our segments, the time machine. What if, number one, bring LeBron James back to the 80s? And I will start with Dom.
This is where you wanted to go? You want me to get all angry? I'm not going to get angry. Any of you that know me and have ever talked hoops with me before, LeBron James in the 80s, would he still be talented? Sure. Would he probably still be an all-star? Probably. Would he have any rings? Absolutely not. Would he have a lot more injuries than an even 30? How old's LeBron now? 37. Then would he have a lot more injuries earlier in his career than a 37-year-old LeBron does? He certainly would. I would. How I would love to have seen that man have to take on the bad boys and catch a couple elbows to his sternum, couple punches to his throat from guys like Mahorn, Lambier. We're talking about the man who was once carried off the court by his teammates for heat cramps. So my vote for that is no. He would not thrive in previous era, even in the early 2000s. I say no.
Well, he was 2003. He was 2003 when he started, So
okay. All right. Well, we could certainly say 80s no, 90s no.
Yeah.
So yeah. Jay, what do you think?
I I think that he actually still is successful. Undoubtedly, it was a tougher era, so he would have a tougher time. And this brings to mind his time with the Cavaliers and the narrative that he had such an easy time because the East was weak. And you would have a case. Anyone would have a case for that, But the man don't got four titles for nothing, and he went to the Lakers and won a championship. So it's obvious he can handle himself in the West. Now, with that being said, you're talking about a man, if anyone, I believe, if anyone would be a physical match for the 80s Pistons, it would be LeBron James. He's still a guy who is 6'9", 260 pounds. I don't see too many guys bowing up to him. I see LeBron actually knocking a few of those guys out. Okay? You got to realize we're talking a 6'9" man, 260 pounds. I mean, come on now. Like, I think he can take his share of shots, and I think he can deliver some as well. Now,
can I ask you a question real quick, though, Jay?
Go ahead.
He asked this question. Would he be 260 in that time with the way that because the whole point, I'll bring my point up when Will's finished. But would he be 260 in that time? Would he be more like 220 or 230, knowing the kind of physical training that they had in that time and the diets?
Right. Well, now you got to keep in mind that, the way LeBron trains, he's 6'9", 260 solid. But even if you were to take him coming out of high school, because in high school he was like 240, 245 solid, I think he still matches up well physically, Now, does he still have 4 rings? Probably not. But does he still be great? Absolutely. I will roll with that one. And one more thing with LeBron James, we're talking about a guy who's played positions 1 through 4. Now, that creates awesome matchups. Him versus Magic, 1. Him versus Lambeer. Him versus Parrish. Him versus Bird. So, and now in talking about would he been successful in the 90s? In the 90s, would he have won a ring? Absolutely not. Between the Rockets and the Bulls, absolutely not. In the 80s, I still say he gets a few. So I'm gonna say yes. It might not be 4. I think he'll probably get 2 rings.
Will.
I agree. It'll be interesting. If he's in the West, he would have to play tough teams like the Lakers and a few other teams. And if he was in the East, he'd have to go through the Celtics, the bad boy Pistons, the early Bulls teams. Like, I could still see him as an all-star, like Dom said, and win 1 or 2 rings, but he would still have to go through Lambeer, Rodman, Parrish, McHale, Bird, Magic. Just so many great players. I still think he'd be great, but he won't be the multiple champion. He'd have 1 or 2 rings.
Well, here's where I'm at. The skill that this guy has is second to none. Just being honest, is why I can like him or not. And I mean, in truth, like I was bringing up Harden as a joke earlier, I can't deny his skill. He's just lazy. He's just lazy, and he's Mr. Fatsuit. So I'm like, it's like we have all those deals, but there doesn't matter their skill. And LeBron is one of the most skilled players we've ever seen in our life. But we got to realize, I always say this: there's no Bron without Bird. First off, the 6'10" point forward, basically, who basically did everything, the single situation, right. And it was all through every single situation. It's like before all those years. All those other years with the small forward, you would go in one area of the perimeter to the other, and one side, and then around the circle. There was very limited areas. You didn't get the ball unless it was thrown to. He all of a sudden is taking Bird's also taking the ball up the court. He's also stealing the ball. It's all that. See, everything you see with Bron, it was Bird. So here's the question. The question I just do have a theory. If they were in at the same time, which one invents which? Which one invents which? And it's like, and the question I have about LeBron is, would he be 260 in that era? Because, like I said, a lot of his 260s based off some state-of-the-art food preparation, state-of-the-art training. He spends $1 million a year on his training. Right. So would he have the same build? I mean, I get your point, Jay. Would he have that same build off that? And then also, I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. Would he be tougher in that era if he started in that era? Like, by itself, if you bring him in the now and he has to play a game against the Pistons tomorrow, he gets carried off the court the first minute. If he cries if Larry does his trash talk, greatest trash talker of all time. If Larry does his trash talk and he smokes him for about 20 in the quarter, just because, and we can't say he wouldn't do that because he smoked Larry Johnson, Grandmama, in his rookie year and Bert last. So he could have done that. Would he make him? I'm asking. Those are the things I think about. Those are the things I think about. So it's like to me, it's a and the same thing would have to go about Bird, Jordan, Isaiah. You know what I'm saying? You go Isaiah. We'll go to this. We'll go with Larry Johnson for you, Will. Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning. We'll go with those here. What do they do if you give them, and that'll be the next start of this question. I'll start it with Dom. What do you do if you give them today's advances?
I would love to see Grandmama in his prime in 2022. Would love it. He's probably my favorite Hornet ever, and it just absolutely broke my heart when he got into his early 30s and had the knee problems and had to retire because he was already starting to have those problems in his late 20s, and he had already altered his game. He became a better jump shooter. So, yeah, who's the other player you mentioned besides Larry Johnson?
Alonzo Mourning.
Alonzo as well had his injury issues, but I think he could be good to great in almost any era. Thing about LeBron is, and it's like you said, this was because everyone, not horribly intelligent people anymore. Like I moved off the LeBron Michael Jordan debate a long time ago. But if you think about Michael Jordan, pretty much from his rookie year until he got banged around by the Pistons and knocked out of the playoffs 2 years in a row, that was when he actually got even remotely serious about his workout regimen. And even beyond that, yeah, he hit the gym a little bit and put on like 15 pounds of muscle. And I give him credit because that's what he needed to do. But outside of that, Michael Jordan was smoking cigars, drinking dark liquor, and golfing in his free time, not working out. And he was still tough as nails. It wasn't that Michael Jordan, no one ever considered him soft. He had to go from tough to tougher to get past the Pistons. And he did that. And I could never begrudge him of that.
Absolutely.
Now, to Dom's point, and this is something I was going to bounce off for you, Jacob, is consider that in that playoff series, when Jordan was getting literally tossed around to the ground and whatnot, Jordan was about what, 185, 200?
Yeah, 185.
He had to go and hit the gym to get bigger just to get with them physically. And even then, he shot up to what, 205, 212?
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, LeBron James is 265. With his size, he could withstand the bad boy Pistons. He could withstand it. He's 265 pounds. But going with Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, I'm going to start with Alonzo Mourning because he's one of my favorites of all time. Alonzo Mourning was a stretch big before stretch bigs were even a thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Cold outside shot. If you put him in today's era, I know he played center back then, but if you put him in today's era, I would move him to the stretch four. I'll put him at the four, and then he can still do his thing as a power forward, and then still he got that outside shot. He got a cold mid-range. Hey, man, you utilize that mid-range if it's not down low. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, if I want to go to all shooting, that's what you want to do. I definitely have Alonzo as a shooter. Grandmama, shoot, man, Larry Johnson.
Well, here's another thing for Will to think about. Imagine if you put, remember Kobe and Charlotte are in those years. Imagine putting them, and then you might have Shaq, and you got to remember those things too. Because you can never tell. I wanted to get your point, Will. What do you think of that idea? Especially if Kobe would have stuck. Do another what if? What if Kobe stayed in Charlotte?
It could have been really interesting. You could have had a really good team later years. Like you got Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, Del Curry, the
Muggsy Bogues
shooting threes, Muggsy Bogues.
Wow,
yeah,
add Kobe to that mix. Glenn Rice.
It would be a title contender for sure. It'd be a really good, scary team.
Muggsy Bogues was scary for a 5'3". Just his
Him. He was the scariest small guy not named Mookie Blaylock.
You know what I think about with Muggsy? It's
I'll say Earl Boykins is better than Muggsy.
What'd you say?
Earl Boykins was better than Muggsy, but that's my guy for my alum. Earl Boykins was great.
Shorts.
He almost won a 6-man. Muggsy Bogues never almost won a 6-man.
Hey, Earl Boykins had longer shorts, but I mean, it's, but the biggest thing about Muggsy is he was fearless. He was absolutely fearless, and it's like this is what. And Will can agree with me on this part. We don't have any of those little guys anymore.
The diminutives. Who was the last? Who's the last guy in the league under 6 foot? The other Isaiah
Nate
Thomas.
Robinson. Wait, no.
Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson or the other Isaiah Thomas. Although to be fair,
the other Isaiah Thomas is back.
They were both under 6 foot.
Who would have done better in a fight with the Paul brothers? Definitely than Nate Robinson. Everybody.
Yeah. But see the funny because how tall was Muggsy? Muggsy was under 5'5".
5'3".
Muggsy was 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was 5'3".
Not a tall man.
No, all those. It's like I seriously really. I'm just believe. And Will made a really good point on that. Really good point. It was like, it's like you see. I mean, we just named 6 players that could have been on that thing if Kobe. And I will absolutely think, considering how Shaq jumped teams in his life, and we all talk about LeBron jumping teams. Shaq jumped teams like crazy.
And, I remember seeing an article real quick, and it said Shaq's different jersey changes could be almost the complete rainbow.
Yeah.
No, Shaq.
Oh, Shaq?
Yeah, okay. So Shaq was in a couple different teams late in his career, too. He's like,
let's see, wait.
The big cactus, the big shamrock. What else?
The Cavs. He played for the Cavs.
I think he ran out of nicknames when he got to the Cavs. Yeah, he bounced all around. Not sure what that was about.
The big bench warmer.
Yeah.
The big 400-pounder, because that man was a quarter pounder away from 4 bills by the end. Anyone that doesn't say so, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out of college at 296 already, but he was an athletic 296.
But, he was. See, I remember watching the 79 and 92, one more time with the Birds years, and I see why he did retire because the very next year you see Shaq's first game and he's dribbling. He's 7'1", 300, and he's dribbling,
running the break,
and he's doing passes, and he's doing these passes behind his back and everything. He's 7'1", 300.
And you know what, Jacob? Since we're on Shaq, I got a what if for you. What if he spent his whole career in Orlando? How many rings did he win?
Yes, I know you've seen that 30 for 30, Jay.
Yep.
The Shaq and Penny Magic.
The Shaq and Penny one, yep.
I'll say great. 2 because I'll give you a reason. Is because once they figured out the Shaq and Penny couldn't do it alone, that Nick Anderson was getting a little older, everything like that, they'd start to get players.
And then consider this. But hold on. Consider this. If we talk about if he did his whole career in Orlando, right? Later on down the line, he gets T-Mac.
Mm-hmm. And maybe still Grant Hill. Probably not, but maybe. Wow. Let's talk about those 4.
Now imagine a healthy Penny, Shaq, a healthy Grant Hill, and T-Mac.
That's, in my mind, that's
everyone chills.
Yeah, that's as good as any big 4 that I can think of. Potentially, in that crazy what-if scenario, if you had all 4 of them in their prime, there's no way that team doesn't win 3 titles.
I agree.
I'm saying 3.
I'm still thinking of Charlotte for a second.
I have my reservations about T-Mac, but go ahead, Jacob.
I'm still thinking of Vogel with considering, let's just say for an instance, Kobe stays and how much Shaq jumped. What if Charlotte's that good and Shaq is the decider, and you've got Alonzo and you've got all the I'm like say it by itself. You've got that, and remember Alonzo and Shaq still played against each other with and everything through those years. You know what I'm saying? And it's like imagine that in the prime.
Right.
I didn't know. I mean, I knew that Akeem Olajuwon was good. I didn't know that he was still that good until those finals against Orlando. I don't know why. For that brief, 45 minutes there / one playoff run, I was a big Shaq mark, and he just got pooped on by Olajuwon. That was a sweep, wasn't it?
That was
He
a
got
sweep
compl-
4-0.
he
Yeah.
got completely outclassed. That was when I
That-
really honed in on the dream shake, and I was like, oh my god,
Mhm.
that's the best set of post moves I've ever seen, and it's not close.
Yeah.
If it's up to me, like this might sound a little bit crazy and hyperbolic, but I'll take the dream shake over the hook shot. And the hook
And
shot
you
is
know what?
the hook shot's only the greatest shot in NBA history.
And
Literally the greatest.
When people argue against the Rockets, they want to say, well, that wasn't prime Shaq. Consider that Shaq was already considered a top 25 all time in year 4.
Yep. That's yeah.
You know,
Okay. You're okay. I got one nice little subject that we can debate right now. Pick our teams, and I'll start with Will. Any team, and we won't even go. We'll go past 2000 even. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? To help Will out.
What do you mean, pick our team?
Let him finish.
He's Charlotte. You're Houston. You're Detroit. I'll say the Celtics from my years when I was a kid. I will say these right now. Will pick 1 year. You know, something that Charlotte. You know, I mean, a year that Charlotte could have done something, and maybe they were out. Any of that stuff, and they were out. And what could they have done? The player they could have gotten that you think would have made a difference. Pick 1 year. Pick one player. You two.
Well, this wasn't a good year for us the year before, but I think it was like 2012 or something. We could have gotten Anthony Davis, but we were screwed out of the number 1 pick. We could have had Kemba Walker. We could have had Anthony Davis. And then in free agency, we could have still gotten Al Jefferson, who played for us. So the year if we had Anthony Davis, I forget what year that was. I think 2012, 2013.
That's so sad for you,
Okay.
Will. But you're an expansion franchise, and yeah. Anyways, moving along. You don't have a championship team to pick out. So you're saying that the best team we ever had, or a what if someone didn't get hurt?
No. Okay. Pick your team that didn't win. You know that may not.
Oh, that's easy.
And what would have made the difference?
Easy.
The best
super
team
easy.
not to win it all.
I can go real quick. It's the year. It's what should have been year 2 of the going to work Pistons. We would have won back to back if Rasheed Wallace or Tayshaun Prince or literally anyone would have thought to put a hand in the face of a guy named Big Shot Bob. So yeah, that's the team. That's the player. That's the reason. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh man, does it have to be a player or can it be a coach?
Either.
It can be a coach. I'm gonna say I think it was 2018. Rockets Warriors, Western Conference Finals. CP3 was hurt, but if Kevin McHale was still our coach instead of D'Antoni, we win that series and we win it all.
And I could have said, I will go way back. By the way, I'm going to go way back. I'm going to the 80s. I'm going with the Celtics, and I'll say these. 87 is completely obvious because here's the deal. I'll say this for you, man, for you, Dom. Detroit should have won in 87 if Bird did not play hero. That is, I'll say that for you. Bird just willed that. He willed that whole damn playoffs on that Celtics. They shouldn't have gotten there. That's the first step. They lost 4-2, and it shouldn't even been past Milwaukee, to be truthful. He willed everything. But I will give another thing. They got Jim Paxson in 1990, 89-90, just around the time that Bird got Bird got hurt, and he got hurt and he had his bone spurs. He was out. 88, 89, 90. Jim Paxson and Larry Bird had a nice little divided locker room over who would be the leader. And I truly, with all those years, I truly have a belief if they would have had World B. Free. I'm going to bring a real name back. If they get World B. Free as a shooter, a 12 to 15-minute shooter, along with Bill Walton off the bench, and stuff like that, someone that wasn't injured, they didn't have all these injuries, they might have gotten, and Len Bryant stays alive, and Reggie Lewis does. You've got yourself a continuance.
Can I actually change mine real quick? I wasn't born. Sorry. I wasn't born, but the year we beat the Celtics in the playoffs.
The morning shot.
The morning shot, exactly. I wasn't born, but what could have been?
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have you.
I'm young. I'm 27. I'm 27.
That's another great idea for a segment. We'd have to go way back for me and Jacob, but it could be I wasn't born, but I'm going to write that down.
We'll do that right now, actually.
Yeah.
No, I do have, before we do that one, let's, the gauntlet asks the question, and we need to address it right now. Let's address it right now. If Penny stayed healthy, would Shaq and Penny be a better duo than Shaq and Kobe?
Ooh, man. I would say I'm gonna say Shaq and Kobe was better because Kobe literally was Jordan 2.0. Everything he did was Jordan and Jordan-esque. That came from Jordan himself and Kobe himself.
That's
so
true.
When you got a sidekick, that's a literal Jordan clone, you can't overlook that, bro.
I 100% agree. Shaq and Kobe were just so dominant, and I agree. Kobe was the next MJ. Shaq and Kobe.
What do you think, Jacob?
The biggest thing about it is the fact I think Shaq and Penny would have been better for one big reason, because they get along. Yeah. It's like you have two. I mean, and I'm just saying that based off of this. I mean, Kobe is an all-time great. He's an all-timer, big time, no question about it. But here's the thing that made all of this. There's a reason Detroit will bring the 80s and 90s Detroit, or let's say 80s. The early 90s, why they got along, why the chemistry, they got along. It's like, no matter how much people hated them, they still had each other's backs. Why did Boston get those titles and they got the 4 straight championships in the 80s? You have fights in the locker room, big deal. But in the end, they still had each other's back. They get along, chemistry. I mean, Houston, 81 and 86, they got to a title, and then they won in 95. They won in 94, 95. That is 4 championships in 15 years. Why? Because remember, there's a chemistry to it. Charlotte, I want to tell you this, Will, way back in the early times when you weren't born yet, and all that kind of thing, bringing that up, the crowds, you had Rambus, you got Muggsy Bogues, you got all these players. These are old school players mixed with the new. You get Larry Johnson later. The crowds were on their feet. They were like rock stars.
Right.
And you would understand that. Both you, all the other two would understand what I'm talking about, the rock star thing of Charlotte.
Oh, I've seen videos on it. It's crazy. The guy who made the jerseys and stuff, I think his name is like Ralph Julian or something. Mm-hmm. Julian, amazing.
I'm not even going to lie. Those first Hornets jerseys were really what made me love the color teal. And then, a handful of years later when the Marlins came about, I'm like, oh, they wear teal too? And then they traded for Gary Sheffield. I'm like, oh, and you have my favorite player?
Yeah.
No. Charlotte was what Miami should have been. This is the funny thing. Charlotte, I mean, Miami, Florida, it's all beautiful, everything like that. It's all party. Everything that happened with Charlotte and the rock star mentality probably should have happened with Miami early, and Miami had very boring production values. They had very boring everything. They had a logo that was half boring. Everything. It's like Charlotte had everything they looked good. That was the difference with everything. They looked good in those times.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
No.
They also put a more successful team together more quickly. Once they were terrible the first couple of years, but every team is. Speaking of teal, remember the Vancouver Grizzlies the first 3 years?
Oh man, they had zero success in Canada.
Big country. I don't think Vancouver really. I don't think Vancouver really cares one way very much or the other about basketball. I'm not surprised
they never did.
Because
they never did. It's a hockey town.
Right.
It's a hockey town.
And
they probably would have had better success if they would have sent the basketball team to Montreal.
Yeah. Hockey in Vancouver, you could go 10 and 70, 10 and 72. And there's nothing but all the big fans and all the haters and all the everything. If Vancouver goes 72 and 10, no one cares.
Right. I was a big Canucks fan for a long, long time because Pablo Burry is my favorite player ever. So when they got a basketball team too, I was like, oh, okay, Vancouver. And the Grizzlies were just awful, and they were just hemorrhaging money. But happy for Memphis.
Hey, but
Worse-
I ain't gonna lie, that jersey was fire. I saw
Yeah.
somebody one time walk in the store with a Mike Bibby Vancouver's throw, and I was like, bruh,
Yeah.
I need that jersey, man.
People hated him back then, though, but I loved those from the beginning.
And
From the
you have
beginning.
one.
I
I've
do.
always been a Bibby fan.
That's the second one of those I have because I sold the OG one on eBay about 10 years ago for about $250, almost $3.
Oh wow. Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's do that segment we were talking about. Let's do that segment. I wasn't born yet, but
Oh, where am I gonna go? I mean, I can. I was gonna say for the. You could take this in so many directions. It's funny. Yeah. Skip me. Come to me after. Somebody's got one right off the top of their head. I know it.
well,
There's
like,
so
"Man,
much
I used
stuff
my
I wish
career."
I could have. There's
Just
so
throw
much
it out
stuff
there.
I wish I grew up with, like the Showtime Lakers, the Bad Boy
Yeah,
Pistons.
they weren't that good.
oh yeah.
And the
They weren't
Celtics with
Neither was
Bird and
Boston.
McHale.
They weren't that good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I
Walton in those
missed-
11 rings. No big deal.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
No big deal.
missed some really good basketball in the 80s, and I wasn't born yet.
It's unfortunate. Thank LeBron for what the association has become, but he's not going
Oh.
to play forever.
Houston,
Trust me,
Houston,
every
Houston
day
boy.
I think about why wasn't I born in the 80s?
Houston man.
Oh
Yeah.
man. And it could be anything, right?
Sure.
Not necessarily okay. I was born in '82. I wasn't born yet, but I wish I would have witnessed Dr. J win it all.
Oh, yeah.
And
The
in addition
sideline.
to that, I wish I would have witnessed the ABA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
wish I would've
See,
witnessed
that was
ABA. That's my number one right there. I wish I would have
Don't
witnessed
we
the
all?
ABA.
Don't we all?
Hey, bikini
ABA
clad
was
cheerleaders.
awesome.
What can we say?
Man, let me tell you something. And the majority of us on this thread, I would imagine back then NBA and ABA was like the late '90s WCW and WWF.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
It was-
mean?
It was,
You got the brand that's been around like forever and a day, and they're traditional, and then the brand that's like rebellious. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And then they
Mhm.
both
The
kind of became rebellious, and then
That-
and then ironically they merged because WWE bought WCW. So when the merger happened with the NBA ABA, it's like
That is-
man, I just wish I would have seen those dunk contests at that time period.
Yeah, that's where the
And I
dunk
wish I would've
contest
seen-
came from.
It came from that the
The
3-point
3-point
shot.
shot. That's where it came from. They should have brought the red, white, and blue ball with them.
As a
They
matter
should've.
of fact,
That.
As a matter of fact, did you know that the 2003 NBA Finals between the Spurs and the Nets was the first NBA Finals that featured two teams that originated in the ABA?
ABA,
Mhm.
yes. That was a spectacular comparison that you made. I love that. You said that. I literally
I love the ABA.
I got goosebumps.
The
I got a
ABA is
perfect
awesome.
one. I wasn't born yet, but I would have loved to have watched the two games that the Pete Maravich and Dr. J played together in the preseason in Atlanta. Do you know the story?
No, what's this all about?
All right.
Yeah.
Let me say this to you. They had basically Dr. J's agent. Now, people people are way more. If I'm wrong on some parts of the thing, please tell me on the thing. But I'm just going to give you the little part of the story. Dr. J's agent ended up being a big on the big inside with the Squires, Virginia. He had a big. So basically, he was getting underpaid. He was getting underappreciated, all that kind of stuff. And it was basically the agent's reason. He finds that out, and he basically leaves, and he ends up going to Atlanta. Well, in the midst of it all, Atlanta has Pete Maravich. So he signs with it. So they have Dr. J and Pete Maravich together for a minute. But then game one, they tried to stop it through court order, could not. Second one, he gets fined. So they have 2 games together, and then by the end of it, he has to go back to the Squires again. But for 2 games, those two played together.
That's spectacular.
Ooh, wow.
That's like that.
Wow.
It's like that
Yeah,
one game.
Maravich and Jay in their prime.
Was that when they had
That's
those
crazy.
sweet royal blue and neon green uniforms too?
Man,
Yeah,
them
right.
jerseys was cold, bro.
I
Them
still have.
jerseys was cold.
Yeah, the
Wasn't
blue and
that
neon green.
Wasn't Walt Bellamy on that team too?
That's a good question. I hadn't think about that.
Walt Bellamy. I'm trying to think who else would have been on that team.
The since you brought up the Squires, this was a thing. As soon as Jay said ABA, like my brain, my heart, pretty much every organ in my body just lit up because I love that league. And the
No,
Squires,
that's just your energy drink.
could be that too.
Yeah.
The Squires, as I recall, along with the Spirits of St. Louis and a few other teams, kind of got left out in the cold. And those were a couple of the more popular teams. But at the time, the NBA was just like, NBA in Virginia, we don't see it.
Right.
Like, they took a combination. I mean, there was teams from the ABA that came to the NBA and said, please take us. And then there was others that the NBA said, okay, we're going to take you. And then there was others that got left out.
I think
ABA had some of the ABA had the sweetest jerseys ever. The
I
old
think
Nets
they had
jerseys, the
if I'm
Squires.
not wrong, Charlotte's team was like the Carolina Cougars or something.
Something like that, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, there was a team in
Dom.
Carolina.
Miami Tropics.
Yep. Dom, and the blue, red, and white ball, bro.
Yeah, that's what I was
The
saying.
red,
Man.
white, and blue ball, bro.
That was
Bring
my
it back. Bring
absolute
it
favorite
back.
thing.
No, I got one. I got another segment for us. Put one classic or current player in the ABA.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
one?
They could. Here's the thing: they cannot have played there already. It can't be Gervin. It can't be all that. Put them that never played in the ABA.
So put a player from
Someone that
today
never
in
did.
the ABA.
Today, either from today or like the '80s when it all wasn't there anymore. Someone with skills.
That's such a good question because there's so many things that go through my mind.
Dude, Steph Curry in the ABA.
They'd have moved
Yeah.
the 3-point line back to 35 feet before it ever got to the NBA, if that were the case.
Right.
Zach Levine, Dr. J.
Ooh, a dream dunk contest.
I was thinking of someone that was flashy and a great dunker from today. I mean, Vince Carter seems like a decent candidate.
Vince Carter, Zach
Oh
Levine.
yeah.
Dominique Wilkins.
Dominique, yes.
Yeah.
People sleep on Dominique.
especially since man, before 2000, the 88 dunk contest was the best I had ever seen. Nothing will beat Jordan versus Neat.
Yeah.
And guess what, Jay? I always, whenever that appears on NBA TV, old slam dunk contest, I'm like, I'm tuned in. I love this dunk contest.
Old dunk contests were the great. I mean, have you guys ever? I'm sure you have seen at least clips, but clips from the old. I mean, they have whole. You can find them on YouTube, like the ABA dunk contests with like
Dr. J was in
free
it.
throw line. Yeah.
Like Michael Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Here's the thing: Michael Jordan in ABA.
Ooh.
I'm sure, knowing what we know now, they would probably say yes.
Isaiah Thomas.
Magic Johnson with his flashy passes.
Yeah, there's
there's a handful.
It seems like NBA players from like the 80s and 90s fit the ABA better than like the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s in my mind.
In a way,
there's
a lot of flash. In a way, there's a lot of flash.
I mean, just imagine seeing as he's on the Nets now, Kevin Durant with Dr. J in the ABA. Bruh, they winning 4 straight. They winning 4 straight.
Not 1, not 2, not 3.
Not 3.
No, LeBron, just 2.
I joke with Harden, but let me tell you this: Harden probably wins ABA rings before he wins NBA rings, and it's because you got to realize the step back. That step back, that was
is
a hard
lethal.
thing in the first place, and his hand skill. All the jokes aside, and I say about him because he's lazy. I get all over James Harden because he's lazy as hell. But let me tell you this: he has ABA skills.
Tracy McGrady thinks that James Harden plays bad defense.
He does play bad defense. He plays lazy defense. He plays lazy defense. But here's the thing, though. But the thing is, what gets you mad is when you see him make steals like behind his back and stuff like that. It's like he can do it. He's lazy. But what I'm saying is he's got ABA skills. I call James Harden a human 3-on-3 player because I do that because it's all those, and it's like he does all that kind of stuff, but he's got all these skills that ABA would have had, and he would have loved to have shot that red, white, and blue ball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That Harden's definitely a good fit. I would agree. Wasn't a whole lot of defense being played in the ABA. Not necessarily a whole lot of defense being played in the association today. Did you guys catch either one of those games earlier today?
Well, it's just I watched the first two. Well, it's just like you said. Today's NBA may as well be the old ABA.
See, here's the thing. Also, you got to, and I'll bring this up. One of the biggest issues is the fact that you got too much political correctness now to be able to make it the ABA. Because, like, I made up the joke about Miami Tropics having bikini-clad cheerleaders and doing all that kind of stuff. For it to be the ABA, it needs to have a little bit of raw, a bit of rawness. It needs to have a little bit of that you can be able to do. What's the word for it? That you can be able to do, take some chances. That you can be able to do. And everybody now, unless this is a big unless somebody truly owns it all. I'm not saying it owns a basketball team because the NBA can kick you out or the NFL. They can kick you out. I'm not saying that. Unless you truly own it all, like say Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Like say Dave Chappelle. Unless you truly own it all, you can lose it all. And so people are deathly afraid to ever take chances now unless they truly own it all. Do the Chappelle, Joe Rogan. They're truly afraid. It's like owning an NBA team does not mean you own it all because you can lose your charter.
Right.
Donald Sterling did.
I wish Dave Chappelle would buy an NBA team. That'd be fun.
Well, you couldn't get rid of him, and the thing. You could not get rid of him because try to get rid of his team. He owns everything. He would just open his own league.
Right.
Ice Cube did. Is that still a thing?
For him.
I think it is.
Mm-hmm. The 3-on-3 league.
I haven't seen anything.
I went to it.
Oh, that's dope.
I went to it a few years ago. Yeah, I actually got to meet Dr. J. Fun story is after the game, I went past security and talked to Dr. J for a few minutes.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So let's make that
cool guy.
Here is you just brought that up, Will. Let's do this segment. Have you met any other, before anything else, have you met any other NBA players, Will?
I've met I could go through a list.
Okay. So
how many do you want me to name?
No one cares that you met Keith Bogans, Will. We want stars.
No, but let's bring this part up for a second. Your story of this is another segment. Your story of meeting an NBA player, any type. I've got two of them, but go ahead with it, Dom.
Oh, come back to me. Will, you have a bunch. Go first.
Okay, Jay.
I actually have yet to meet one. I've only met pro wrestlers and pro football players. Oh, and then George Foreman.
So who did you meet?
Okay, so I met Ahmed Johnson in high school. He's a damn gorilla in person.
Ahmed Johnson?
That dude is huge.
The Pearl River Plunge?
Like, his biceps the size of your head. That dude is ginormous. Yeah, I met Ahmed Johnson. I met I'm Danielle Manning. I told you this, Jacob. Danielle Manning returned to ACU my freshman year up there. He returned there to finish his degree, so I hung out with him and everything. I still got his phone number. But I met him, and then I met George Foreman in 2003.
Oh, that's cool. Will.
Okay, I'm gonna name two. I met Steph Curry because I went to his basketball camp when I was little, and that was fun.
That's
You're way too young for us, damn it.
I am way too young.
You're way too damn young for us. You're saying when you're little and talking about Steph Curry.
I was like 14, maybe. I don't remember. And then the other cool one was. There's so many. There's just so many. I can't name them all. There's just so many guys I've met.
You met a bunch of players at games?
At games, at like meet and greets, at other events.
Oh, and I can say this: I got two big ones. I met Bernard King. I was an Uber driver 5.5 years. I got Bernard King.
Nice.
And
That's
got
awesome.
got Bernard King, and I got $100 tip from him. So that was
Oh,
pretty
nice.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I would have loved to have the $100 tip when I wasn't in survival mode and dying, because that $100 went straight to my gas tank.
Right.
I would have loved to have like a good time with that, but and then a second one is a very special one because it was my very last Uber ride I ever did. It was Joel Embiid.
Oh,
Nice.
It was Joel
he
Embiid.
meant the
It was-
process.
Yep. Yeah, he was doing his process. I was bringing him to a training center, and it was, I mean, it was funny because I had this little Nissan Versa, and so he had to squeeze his legs through there, and he's 7'2".
I was gonna say, like, I was just about to ask, what kind of car was it, and how
it's a
pinched
Nissan
off was he in
Versa,
the back?
So I'm like, it's like this. He's like squeezing in like that. It was ridiculous.
That's
great.
hilarious.
But once I saw him, I was getting out of Uber anyway, and then I saw him. I'm like, you can't beat that. I erased my app after that. It's over.
Nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
You
I've already
can't beat that level.
No.
Oh yeah. So and I'm getting trust the process, baby. MVP. Yeah.
Sweet. Did you get a picture?
Oh no. He was too. I think he was too focused on like training. That he barely talked. But a nice enough guy is just quiet.
Okay, then that's cool.
Oh yeah.
That's really humble.
Oh yeah. See, I've never had it. This is the thing. I've never had an issue with Joel Embiid at all. That was
No.
I've never had it with him. It's like he just had to stay healthy. I've never had an issue with him. It's just, see, I'm going to give for everybody that's understood, they would think I'm going to hate on the Sixers. I'm going to give my little story right now. It's like for people watching. I made people laugh through last year. I picked the Sixers to win it all. Like right after they got eliminated last year, I picked them to win it all. Like,
This
and
year.
the thing is, when Houston made the World Series and barely missed it, and we lost by 4-2, so I was that close. And it's like, and I've made some predictions before, so I went for this one. But
We're
I have to say
talking to
this.
you, James. He doesn't hate the Sixers. He just
Yeah.
hates James Harden, and I'm in that camp.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't hate the Sixers. I picked the Sixers to win it all. I'm just so pissed that they had to. Especially when I liked Maxey. When I love Embiid, I think they had it enough, and I think that James Harden is the laziest, and he will bomb.
Will
And he
Purdue,
is the
that's who it
worst
was.
problem, especially giving up 2 first-round picks. That's where my problem is.
I finally remembered mine because I had to think really long and hard. I've never met any Pistons at a game. I've never been to any, autograph signings, meet and greets, none of that. However, I did once sit on the end of, not even behind, on the end of the Bulls bench in like 1991 at the old dark ass smelly Chicago Stadium. And I literally had to look at the roster to see who it was, because I shook hands with the 12th man. And in my head, I'm like Bill Wennington. And I'm like, no, I had to look. It was Will Purdue. I shook hands with Will Purdue in 1991.
Oh, wow. That was the Bulls big man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like the backup center, 12th man.
Mm-hmm.
The
biggest hand you ever shook in your life.
Second biggest.
George Foreman, easily. Dude, he's got baseball gloves for hands. And I remember shaking his hand, and I'm like, you hit people with these? Like,
just imagine the people that could take it. Imagine the people that can get knocked down right away.
Right.
Will Purdue's hands were big. Luther Ellis's hands were even bigger. And I shook hands with him when I was an adult, and that dude's hand was still 3 times the size of mine. It didn't even look real.
Will.
Biggest hands. Oof. Probably Jokic, because I met Jokic a few years ago at a meet and greet for All-Star Weekend in Charlotte.
Oh, man. Awesome.
Was
he pretty cool in person?
Yeah, he was. He was really cool. He signed a basketball card for me. Yeah, I need to send. I meant to send it to all the groups we're in. Pictures players I've met. I'll probably send you guys a bunch. It's gonna be like 50 pictures.
Just repost them all on your Facebook as if that'd be like, look at everything I did in the last 4 days. Just kidding. Just fanboying.
I will. I'll put I would say this. I'd say one of the biggest hands I've ever shook was Cowboy Bob Orton. He was at a wrestling event back in my hometown.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's like dude's hands. I mean, you would see. You get shocked. You get shocked by the size of these people because they're next to Hulk Hogan, like when you're a Hulkamaniac back in the day. And Hulk Hogan is an enormous, ginormous son of a bitch. You know? and it's like. And it's one of those things, and it's like it's like you forget this, that a Ted DiBiase is enormous, that a Cowboy Bob Orton is enormous. You're imagining what. You see, one of my best buddies is a pro wrestler, and it's like he's been next to Randy Orton, and Randy Orton's a legitimate giant. And and you forget all this, and then you get all this stuff, and it's like you forget how giant these people are. And then I've also shook John Rocker's hand. And that is a huge.
Oh, that John Rocker?
Yeah. Is there another one?
You gotta remember, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I run and another. I will say this. I wouldn't say his hand is huge, but Jake the Snake Roberts. I just met him a week and a half ago.
He's from Stone Mountain.
That's awesome. Jake the Snake's one of my favorites ever.
Well, I dressed him. I got him some dress pants and stuff. But it's like,
nice.
But Jake. Here's the thing. Jake is aging, but you can tell. See, I'm 6'3". I'm about 210, 215. So, but it's like he's aging, so he's not as big to me as he would have been. But you can tell his frame.
Yeah.
His frame. It's like you can tell he was 6'5", 6'6" in his day. You can just tell from he's much bigger than people realize. He's taller than me.
Yeah,
Jake the Snake was probably about 235, 240, but he was a lean because he wasn't known as a gym rat. He was more like a lean 240. He was just in shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like. It isn't like, and it's funny you bring up these sizes and everything because, like, you talk about Hulk Hogan being ginormous. That's also a testament to how big Andre the Giant was. Because when they stood chest to chest, he dwarfed Hogan.
Yeah,
he dwarfed Hogan. I was like, man, that's cool.
See, my buddies.
That reminds me.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It reminds me of that picture of I think it was Manute Bol and Muggsy Bogues when they were on the Washington.
The balls.
Oh, man.
The three balls. Yeah.
That is crazy.
No, okay, let's forget hands. What about the biggest person we've been near? Biggest person.
Shaq. I forgot. I mean, I kind of met Shaq. Like, I was just passing by. When I first moved to Florida, I lived in like pretty much right on South Beach for a couple weeks. This was like 03, 04. And it's like, obviously it's Shaq. He's unmistakable, but I kind of saw him out of the corner of my eye, and it was a guy sitting in a love seat that looked like me sitting in a Barca lounger. And I looked and I kind of saw, and it was like, you just saw Shaq, but your brain doesn't believe your eyes. I looked back and I was like, that's freaking Shaq. And he had some gaiters on, and his feet, like everyone's seen his size 20 Reebok pump. Imagine some gaiters that size. It was one gaiter on each foot.
One gaiter each.
Right.
Yeah. That's
and
insane.
I was just like, I've never been a Shaq fan, so I wasn't going to go and hound dog him. And I was like, I have no real desire to get that much closer to him. God forbid I say something that makes him mad, which I probably would. Knowing how I am, I was like, I'm just going to keep walking, keep drinking.
Okay, I would say my biggest would be Embiid. Embiid. See, it's like I can't say it. I just say the biggest version of like Bob Orton. Bob Orton's much damn bigger than you ever look. It's like, but I was also real skinny at that time too. So it's like, Bob Orton's aging now, but if I was to be next, I'm 6'3", so it'd be they're different. But I'm next to Joel Embiid. I'm 7 foot. He's 7 foot. He's 7 foot, and that's about 270, 280, and he's a lean 270 to 280. So I mean, these are big. See, this is what people forget with these athletes. We look at them, but if we look at them, we say what we say. We may talk trash, we may whatever. I'll give you an example about wrestling. Shawn Michaels. I didn't see him in person, but I'll give this example. I looked at him on a VHS video thing from like a camera a few years ago. It's like from WrestleMania 12. They showed one of these. They have it on YouTube. They show him in like at 6 a.m. on a treadmill in the hotel gym. Dude's on a treadmill. He's $185. His chest is out this damn wide. You go out to this way. His chest is out that damn wide. He's 185. It's like these are just different breeds of animal. As far just athletes, by itself. I mean, I'm not saying they can beat everybody up in the world, but it's like, you're standing up to people if they're $185 and they're that big and they're that strong.
Right.
Shawn Michaels isn't a tall dude, but he was in great shape.
It's like 5'10".
And anyone that says wrestlers aren't athletes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No. Oh no. It's like, but I'm saying that, okay, Will, you said that we forgot you because we talk a lot. And I apologize. I mean,
No, you're good.
But do you have anybody else that you remember?
Who I've met that's like huge?
Yeah.
Besides
Jokic.
You know who's surprisingly really tall still? Mitch Kupchak. He owns the Hornets, and I walked past him once. He is a tall dude still.
Kupchak was 6'10", 6'9", it's about 6'10" or 11, I believe.
Yeah, he is tall, and he's kept that height.
I think we all forgot from the 80s how big these people are because there weren't muscles like in those days. But I'll bring up Bird. He was 6'9" and a solid 225. He was country strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hick from the French Lick, yep. That boy was strong.
I mean, and it's like if we went up to him and you're trying, just imagine, remember, he had 10 rebounds a game in his career. He's a double-double in his career. Just imagine he was getting 10 rebounds a game in his career when he's fighting Moses Malone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when all the centers were actually 7 feet tall and in the paint.
Yeah.
Trying to get rebounds.
Remember,
sorry.
Here's another thing to remember. Here's another thing that we can say whatsoever. Let's go all four of us. We'll go first, and I'll give it to Will first. Who lasted too long in the NBA? Who went too long?
There's so many. There's so many.
There is so many. Personally, I think T-Mac. T-Mac lasted too long because the last few years he was with San Antonio, Atlanta, Detroit. Like, he was already done in my eyes, and you guys may agree. After Houston, I was like, okay, this guy's got to be done. He had his shining moments in Houston, Orlando, and when he was with Toronto. But, after Houston, I'm like, can this guy still play? And I think he just basically played barely anymore when he...
How do your knees break down so badly when you've never bent them to play defense in your life?
I think my choice is Tracy McGrady.
That's a good one.
Okay, go on, Dante.
I've got two of them, but one of them actually ends up good. So the first one I'm going to say is Shaq. Yeah. I think after Phoenix, he should have been done. There never should have been a Shaq and LeBron. I think after Phoenix, he should have been done. And the other one that actually ended up good that he did this, Kevin Willis. And the reason why it ended up good, it was because he went 19 years, and in his 19th year, he won it all.
Yep, he sure did. It's like
I think it's still the record to this day of the longest amount of time before your first championship.
Not in sports though, because 22 seasons for Ray Bork.
No, I meant just the NBA history. But Ray Bork, he got in all the sports.
Yeah, 22 years.
Go ahead, Dom.
You guys I feel like you took pretty much all of the good ones that I had in my mind. So the one I'll give, I won't even say that he necessarily stayed around too long, but that he just stayed around forever, especially in comparison to his Fab Five brethren. You realize how many more years Jawan played than anyone else from the Fab Five?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's like 6 or 7.
You know who's still kicking around? Udonis Haslem is still like the 12th man on the Heat.
Yeah.
For all these years with one team. Yeah.
See,
And he's still, and I think I saw a few months ago, it was like he played like 2 minutes and it was to beat like a record or something. And I'm like, this guy's still floating around?
I was talking smack about Serge Ibaka earlier, and he shut my mouth, slapped me in my mouth, and then shut it for me. He's also not as old as I thought he was. He's only 32. I was talking smack about him the other night. I'm like, Serge Ibaka's 75 years old. And literally in like 4 possessions, I saw him get like 8 points and 5 boards. And I'm like, okay, Serge Ibaka, do your thing.
Here's a question real.
And then you have Greg Oden, who got 8 fights and 5 rebounds and then blew his feet out.
Here's a question for you guys. Do you think Dwight Howard lasted too long? I think he did.
I
think last year or 2 years ago when he won with the Lakers, he should have walked away.
I agree 100%.
I have serious issues with Dwight Howard. Like he's one of those ones way up on that list where it's like, I'm taking your ring away and I'm giving it to someone who deserves it.
Well, Howard is the Harden of that from that era in the first place. You know, someone who did. I'm just being honest. Except Howard's going to win his ring, Harden will never win the ring. But see, I'm just talking about the laziness, the pure skill who is lazy. That's all I meant by
soft and never wanted to develop that post game.
Yeah,
Dwight Howard. That's why I don't like him because he's such a disappointment.
So who's your longest tenured? Yeah,
my longest, Moses Malone. Malone. He started in 74, ended in 95. He should have been done after 83 when he won the title. His knees were absolutely jello by that point.
They were Greg Oden.
Yeah. And then over the years he just kept growing this pot gut like he had 11 months pregnant. And it just jogged up the court, and then he plodded up the court, then he crawled up the court, then and then he would go on these. He went on all these teams. He went back to Philadelphia for a little 1 year or whatever. He went to a couple other teams. And then his final year, 95, he averaged 2 points a game.
Moses Malone played in the NBA in 1995.
Yes, he
did.
Yes. God, it's funny because wow.
Well, see, this is what I will tell you. I put this on my pundit's point. One of my pundit point. I put this on there once. The greatest thing about sports now, NBA and all of these now, is that there are more people thought of with business. They think of with business. You know what I mean? There's more business minded. Less are going to go broke. You would get a Moses Malone stay until 1995 because it's all they knew. They didn't have monetary thought. They didn't have monetary education at all for the athletes. You didn't have that 30 for 30 broke. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have.
And keep in mind, before you continue, Moses Malone did not go to college. He was the first ever to be drafted into the pros from high school. So he didn't have a college degree to back him up.
Yep.
Great point. Great point.
And it's like, so that's all he had. And it's like, and you don't look at the paycheck. And you don't have. See, the thing is, there's so much. Okay, I brought this up. It's like I brought up Grant Cardone for you. You've got these. You've got a billion other monetary education seminars now. You've got all of these baseball, basketball, football. All of these are going. They're going into education, whether the rookies want to it or not. That's the greatest thing about this now. You're not going to get a Moses Malone anymore. Which, Moses Malone once had 28 points and 15 rebounds, or 30 points, 15 rebounds in a season.
I would agree with you on that one. I think that if Moses Malone were alive today, he would say, I wish I had the resources y'all got right now.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And then if he did, he probably wouldn't have been in the league that long. He probably would have walked away in 84, 85. You know what I mean?
And
he
then
knew he was going, but he was still trying to get paid.
And he would have probably invested in a firm or invested in something and do a side gig.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Early times. Okay. Business. Bring it into business. Early times or now, greatest business minds from the NBA. Let's not bring Jordan. Just duh.
That was just lightning in a bottle, but he definitely took it and ran with it. Like I can remember when the first pair of Jordans came out, I'm like, those are ugly.
Yeah. Well, because it was Detroit. It was against Detroit.
I was like, give me what were they called? Converse weapons, because that's what literally everyone else wore.
Hey, I had Converse. Well, I had Birds. I had Birds when I was a little kid.
Michael Jordan, you guys probably know this because it's been out there on The Last Dance and other things. You know, he only went to that meetup with Nike because he said that he would, and he didn't want to, and his parents were like, "Oh no, you told them you were going, you're going."
You're going.
Because didn't he want to go to Adidas at first?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of his idols are like, I mean, Adidas had been around. You know, Nike was.
Adidas was Stan Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of other things.
Stan Smith's the second most profitable shoe of all time.
Second most?
Yep.
I believe that.
Second
wow, Stan Smith.
Behind Michael Jordan, yeah. He is second most. I mean, they have you have...
Way more than Chuck Taylor's?
Yes. Go look it up. Stan Smith.
I believe you.
Yeah.
That's a crazy fact.
Stan Smith made a ton of money because Stan Smith has had like hip-hop stars and actors that just wear that simple shoe with a little green tongue. Just that simple little shoe. It was a little simple tennis shoe. It's made so much money.
I used to play tennis when I was a kid. Like I just tried it out once. Like I had a pair of Stan Smiths and I was like, let me play tennis in these. They're not bad tennis shoes. Everyone calls them tennis shoes.
I play tennis. I get that.
They're sneakers now. We need to get together and play. I haven't played in years. I would need some time.
Yeah. Make sure to use the red glasses for the Bulls, of course.
with the straps, the Kurt Rambis look.
Yeah. I'll give a business. Junior Bridgman. Any of you heard of him?
The name sounds familiar.
Education of this. Years ago, 76 to 87, Junior Bridgman was on like Milwaukee, a couple other teams, one or two more teams. He, in the midst of his career, he bought a Wendy's. He started learning Wendy's. He bought a Wendy's. And he just kept, in his off seasons when everybody else was partying and everything, he was running Wendy's and sweeping. And people were in Milwaukee and they're like, or wherever, and they're like, wait a minute, is that Junior Bridgman? Like all that stuff. He was owning Wendy's. He kept buying them and buying them. And then when he retired in 87, he just kept getting franchise after franchise after franchise. He got 400 franchises.
I was going to say, now he's got like 500, right?
Huh?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He ended up buying I forget which one, but he bought an African American magazine, I believe. You know, he bought that and he sold out in like 2016, and I mean he's a billionaire now.
Wow.
I'm glad.
Junior Bridgman.
I was going to say, I'm glad you had one that far trumped LeBron, because any person now would probably say LeBron. And LeBron's doing well for himself in the business world. And what a lot of LeBron stans don't realize is him going to LA was not about winning a bunch more titles. He got one more, and he was very fortunate for that. But he's in the mogul stage of his career. He's out there trying to make connections and make more money.
I think everyone knew that, though. I think everyone knew that. But it's not. But he wasn't gonna go out there and just play like lazy or anything. At the end of the day, it's basketball. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna play. But the move to Los Angeles, it definitely was a business move.
Shout out to Jason Tatum for hopefully taking the focus off LeBron quickly for that little 50-point aberration he had the other night, because the LeBron stands were fully erect, and now it's over. I'll be like, Jason Tatum just had 50, so what?
Well, let me say this about LeBron. I give this credit. Hey, and Will, let me bring this because we'll go to you next on this part. Is like, in the end, do you think LeBron has? I'm just saying this. Do you think LeBron wins one before Bronny gets in? Because he's only playing 1 year with Bronny.
No.
He's done winning rings in my mind.
I
don't even count that bubble one. The four of us and one more guy could go out there and win a ring if we had 3 months to rest and recuperate. I give no credit to that bubble title. Go ahead, Will.
I don't think so. I think he's done winning rings. Like Dom said, I think the other team, there's so many other good teams out there. I think the Lakers, if they do make the playoffs this year, keyword if, are a play-in game, and I think they're out. I don't see, I'm not impressed by how they played. Sure, they beat the Warriors, but the Warriors are kind of struggling without Draymond now, but still. Westbrook's not at his greatest right now. LeBron's basically had to carry the load yesterday. Like Dom
Mm-hmm.
said, he had 56 points, and that's the most he had in a Laker jersey. That's going to wear on him eventually. I know he's in great shape and all, but he's not as young as he used to be. He like flat out couldn't stand up after the game. Like he was like talking during the interview, and he was like, "Yeah, so yeah," and I'm like,
What do you say to
"Dude, you
Stafford?
feel
Oh, you
like
were here. I want to give you a show. To be
I
perfectly
bet
honest, if you asked LeBron
yeah."
in the post game, he'd probably be like, I wish I never had to score 56 points for us to win, because that was not his intention when he went out there. He didn't want to carry
No,
this
no,
team.
no,
Well, you know
exactly.
something? It's like, you know something? The biggest thing was I give credit seeing that the performance. I will give as much as LeBron will drive me nuts at times, especially like when he stood there watching a rebound the other night against Dallas and Dallas blown by him for a dunk. I mean, considering who I grew up with, that kind of crap drives me absolutely nuts. But but the thing is, I give all the credit in the world for that, because that was literally, and growing up with the type, it's like, and see, something, he really, though, he's getting older, but I give all the credit in the world for the other night, really I do,
I do too.
because I give it credit because, to me, I have always wondered, like when I was saying this, and yeah, Gauntlet, you're correct. We say things about him every year and stuff, and yeah, he's actually 28 points a game this year, so we got to give that point. The thing I give credit for is when I always am wondering the times that he like stands there and looks at a ball while they're blowing by him and everything. Where's your killer? He showed that killer. He showed that killer in that 56. That's what I'm going to give him. It's not just the points. He showed that killer. He like the killer that came back from 3-1, averaged 44 and 11. And 8.
I do agree with what the Gauntlet said. I do give the guy credit. I just don't think they're going to do anything this year.
Well, they're
Forever again.
I think he wins one more. I think he'll tie Kobe. But that year that he wins it, it's going to be much like Manning's last Super Bowl, how he was a shell of himself and basically just go out there and don't lose the game or don't lose the series. But it's going to take all season long healthy AD. Because we know what AD is when he's healthy.
What's that like?
It's going to take – I know we've forgotten already. But look, it's going to take an all healthy AD, and I can't put my finger on it, but it's going to take one more piece to kind of get them there. I don't see them being a 1 seed. They'll probably be like a 4-3, but I can see them winning one more.
I'm going to name something that Gauntlet just brought up right now. He's correct that the longevity, Michael can't touch his longevity. He's right. Because Michael took two hiatuses. And the thing about Michael is people forget this. They love Michael's the three-peats, 2 of them. The world loves this. But he literally stayed up. You watched that documentary. He stayed up all night gambling.
Drinking and playing cards.
Drink and play cards.
Smoking cigars.
Out there, used every ounce of his being to win every game that he would. And guess what? I grew up with Bird drank lots of beer. I joke with you about that, Don, but he was a big old beer drinker, and his idea of losing weight in '88 was not drinking beer anymore. I mean, that's just what then he had 30 points a game that year too. That's just funny. But 29-9. But no, the thing is, Michael can't touch that because Michael used every ounce of himself mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Michael used the one thing we got to give LeBron credit for is he goes through and he just switch, and it is very mogul-like. He is very mogul-like. And another one who's mogul-like is Steph Curry right now. He's going to get close to the billions just like LeBron will. And there's a lot of things he's doing. But we're getting to that thing where Bron, my whole issue with Bron is the fact that I just am older. Let me be truthful. I'm just older. I grew up watching a dude that just played every inch of the court, dove every ball when his back was gone, and played hero after hero after hero after hero. And he had Hall of Famers. He did that. So when I see somebody just stand there, pause, when I see the thing, and sometimes he doesn't play it all the time, but I have to give Bron credit.
Yep.
I have to give LeBron credit because he has physically kept himself in perfect shape for 19 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he has.
And it's like his mental state. Larry's physical state was gone in year 12. His mental state was gone after the last year because his magic was gone. But in year 12, Bird's physical state was gone. He had 2 19 rebound games in 1 year, and with no back left. But he was just forcing it. He didn't even play in the playoffs until Game 4 of the second round. He didn't play the first round in 92 at all. Yeah. His back was gone. His physical was gone. Michael's mental was gone. He had to take 2 hiatuses.
Well, that and the whole gambling problem.
Yeah, but Michael used himself up so dang much. Even if he didn't have that, he might have said something saying he just mentally gone.
Yeah, and just those are long seasons. Long, 80-game season, which he probably played 78 of those games and all those playoff games 3 years in a row. Yeah, he was, like you said, he was mentally taxed.
He was spent.
Mm-hmm. His body was just fine for the most part.
LeBron has kept himself in most games and done all that for all those years. We can play the game of we can't stand LeBron. We can do all this type of thing, but let's not play. I've said this to people. Don't be the fanboy. We're playing fanboy if we don't give that credit.
Yeah, that's true. And you would be surprised how many athletes retire when physically they have more in the tank, but mentally they don't have it anymore. Man, you could have went 4 more years. Yeah, but Andrew Luck,
when it starts to go above the neck, it doesn't matter what kind of shape your body's in.
It doesn't matter what kind of shape. It doesn't at all, Like, what was it? Shannon Sharp said he didn't like going to the meetings anymore. He always hated them. But he got to the point where he was like, physically, I could have came back for 1 or 2 years. But, Brett Favre, at one point in time, he was like, the meetings, the fucking film and all that, I just hated doing that. I couldn't do it any longer. Even though we know it's a part of the game, but yeah, you're right, Jacob, man. Mentally, once he's checked out, that's it. In which you actually have to think for a second. That's actually scary that he checked out mentally in year 12 and he walked to a couple more titles.
Yeah.
It's like on muscle memory, he went and won. You know what I mean?
All the stuff that I have to just say this, that, okay, old head, I'm going to be 44 in August. You know what I mean? Old head. Let's use realism versus what you grew up with. Realism, LeBron's an all-time great. Realism. Realism means an all-time great, but it's like you put in your head when you're the old head and you just saw you saw hero after hero after hero after hero when there was nothing left.
Right.
So when you're talking about LeBron getting carried off from cramps, the Boston Garden was predated air conditioning. Predated. And this is May and June every year, when they're playing, or April and May when they play in the finals. Think about Boston in those years, and there's no air conditioning.
But, I mean, I don't think there's
99 degrees, 100 degrees in there all the time.
Yeah.
So no cramps. So
it was tougher all the way around back then.
All the way around, yeah, it was. Hey guys, I gotta drop off here. I gotta catch y'all next week.
I will say goodbye to everybody. It was a wonderful show. Will, thank you very much. And Will, we look forward to you. And I asked you to come in late. We all did, and we're proud to have you. And you're gonna learn a lot about this, and you're gonna be a valued asset here. We thank you for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Go lock yourself in a time capsule from 1970 and don't come out till you can tell me everything you can tell me about 1970 to 1999. I might join you for the 70s and for the before I was born segment of that.
Yeah.
and it is great, everybody. It is great. I think we had a wonderful first show. Great for the Sideline Sports. I think we got something. And we have got something going. We're going to build onto this, and keep it going. And thank you guys, and you have a wonderful night, everybody.
Hey, Basket Bros.
Basket Bros. Basket Bros.
Basket Bros. Have a good night.
All right.
Yeah.